Hey guys, it's your favorite Dinobot here, and today we have another Godzilla video. You see, Godzilla has always been one of the prominent monster fighters in all of fiction. I don't think there's really anyone that can contend with him. Plus, again, with Godzilla vs. Power Rangers 2 out now, and with the Psycho Rangers actually being able to fuse with Godzilla's enemies, dear God, they're gonna get cooked here. And with obviously Godzilla fighting against the Justice League, beating Superman, and them teaming up in the next issue, God help whoever they're fighting against. I decided that we take a look at Monsters Unleashed, where we actually saw some of the most prominent monsters in Marvel make a return, right? Except for Marvel's Godzilla. So today we're going to be putting Godzilla against 9 of Godzilla's monsters and seeing if he would be able to beat them if it came down to it. Let's say Godzilla was still in the Marvel universe and then he popped up during Monsters Unleashed. So the monsters are the following: Goom, Zutak, Giganto Man Thing, Fin Fang Foom, the Blood Coven, Satana, Ghost Rider, and finally the final boss, Mangog. So first things first, we obviously are going to scale Marvel's Godzilla. I'm not going to go into the multiversal versus outerversal, stuff like that here. But, well, I'm not going to the outerversal stuff here today obviously, because again, this is pretty simple. It's an inverse situation, so... well, kind of inverse situation, but you guys know what I mean. So, Godzilla has done some incredible things when he appeared in Marvel. One of the first few feats he did was one-shot the Hulk. The same Hulk here that can punch through things like time barriers, being able to destroy entire universes, being able to punch Celestials in their faces, all right? Being able to crack the likes of Thor and Hercules upside the head and send them flying, okay? Hulk has done some of the most ridiculous stuff in Marvel. Definitely the strongest being out there. And again, he's tangled with most of the monsters on this list, as you can see here. And now, keep in mind, again, Godzilla one-shot him. Next up is Thor. Thor actually believed nothing he could do. Keep in mind, this is a classic days Thor, with things like atomic manipulation, matter manipulation, space manipulation, so on and so forth here, and he thought none of it could stop Godzilla. And keep in mind, when Thor was trying to physically match Godzilla over pressing a building, he was losing. Again, literally saying that his strength may be in vain. Tongue-tied. Now, Thor is pretty simple to scale here. I think he's one of the biggest benchmark scaling points in the Marvel universe in general. And the sheer fact that not only does his godhood transcend dimensions himself here, but as a baby, he shook Idrisil. And I think it should be prominent to use this feat here because, again, adult Thor would scale above himself as a baby. Seriously, it should be like a no-brainer. Unless you want to say a baby Thor is stronger than his adult self, right? Yeah. So again, with him being able to do all these feats, crack celestial armor, being able to battle against characters like the Hulk and stuff, being able to affect Idrisil itself, which is a miniature multiverse. Again, Godzilla was able to overpower him. And Godzilla was able to also stress out Hercules, one of the strongest beings in Marvel. Keep in mind, Hercules has been able to hold open the House of Ideas enough for Vision to get through. This is important because the House of Ideas is one of the higher places in Marvel. Higher than the White Hot Room, or I think it contains the White Hot Room as well, which is, again, a dimension beyond the Marvel 616 multiverse. And Hercules himself was able to hold this door open. Hercules has also been able to casually lift the heavens themselves, a universe abstract object, or just an abstract object in general, and yet Godzilla is stressing this man out and using every fiber of his being just to throw Godzilla off of him. Again, impressive, ain't it? Godzilla's reaction speed would also be compared to characters like Vision, Thor, and Human Torch here. Characters like Thor have easily been able to move, react, and even attack at many times faster than light speed, being able to block attacks that are around the speed of thought, which in Marvel is massively faster than light, or again, immeasurable to inaccessible levels of speed. You even have the sheer fact that Thor has been able to blitz past characters or even surprise characters like Silver Surfer, being able to catch the god Hermes with his speed, with Hermes being able to consistently travel millions of light years within seconds. All right. So again, massively faster than light between measurable levels of speed. Godzilla also has his signature atomic breath here, and he can actually use his roar as an attack as well here. So again, very simple stuff for Godzilla here. He's consistently above the Avengers and the Fantastic Four combined, with, Thor, Hulk, and Hercules, three of Marvel's heaviest hitters, not being able to beat him. So, with that out of the way, we can actually get to his first monster here, and that being Goom. Goom is one of the first few monsters that actually appeared in Marvel, I believe, or at least one of the first extraterrestrial monsters to appear other than Fin Fang Foom. Now, the thing about Goom is he is excuse me. He doesn't have too much showings for him, I mean, Goom even right now is comparable to other monsters, but that's actually pretty important because the monsters do like scale to each other, and then that they scale to the other heroes consistently. Now, Goom is actually ridiculously impressive, with Goom being able to not only thrash other monsters, but is actually able to go toe to toe with Savage Hulk here. Now, this is important here because, again, this is Godzilla's first, round. Obviously, if I didn't mention it earlier, Godzilla does get rest through each round here. And again, I'll give him a bonus matchup in a future versus video. All right. So, well, I mean, that'll be for this wave as well because it's already, established and planned. But you guys get my point, right? Yeah. So, Goom here, going toe to toe with Savage Hulk here. I believe it was the clone version of Goom. But again, the clone scales back to the original. So, that's not even a bad thing to use here. So Goom was not only able to go toe to toe with Savage Hulk, but eventually, got overwhelmed by his blows here, which again is pretty important here because again, if Goom does scale back to other monsters that are capable of fighting against Hulk, Thor, Thing, and obviously Fin Fang Foom himself here, right? Then it should be pretty simple here. Goom's only advantage over Godzilla is that he's flying, and I guess you could say a bit more intelligent. But then again, Godzilla was thrashing characters like Iron Man, who can also fly and is intelligent. Would I say he's as strong as Goom here? I probably would say no during that time period, even though classic days Iron Man was crazy and stuff here. But again, he couldn't even beat Colossus. I'm not saying that's a bad thing, but again, it's not very comparable to someone who's able to trade blows with the Hulk here. But again, the thing is, he lost to the Hulk. Godzilla managed to one-shot the Hulk here. All right. So, excuse me. So, yeah, I think it is pretty simple here that if there is a one-shot difference in power between the two, then, yeah, Goom is getting cooked here, like low to no difficulty. Next up we have is Zootak. Now, Zootak, believe it or not, was a bit hard for me to find here. I had to read Strange Tales, and I had to go through some of the Fantastic Four issues from 2009. So, again, y'all know I love y'all if I'm getting all these information for these different monsters. Now, Zootak himself here is interesting. Not appearing in too much, but he is, again, comparable to the other monsters like Goom, being able to fight against the Hulk here and stuff here. Now, Zootak's own feats are consistent with him being able to fight against the Fantastic Four, especially the Thing and Human Torch, being able to take attacks from them. Now, this is also important, and I will be getting into it with other monsters as well here, but Godzilla fought the Fantastic Four when he was shrunk down with Pym particles and was trying to be BFR to the dinosaur age. So he was around the same size as a Tyrannosaurus Rex. And Godzilla not only beat the Fantastic Four to the point where they had to, BFR him after the Thing gave him a good old wombo combo, but the sheer fact that Zootak struggled with Human Torch and the Thing, while Godzilla was thrashing Human Torch and the Thing here, again, says a whole lot here. And again, it took the entirety of the Fantastic Four, including Sue Storm, in order to actually being able to restrain, contain, eventually knock out, then BFR Godzilla. And even then, they struggle with that. There's also the sheer fact that Godzilla has fought the Avengers on top of that. The Avengers and Fantastic Four together. And yet, Still won. Now, we're also going to include Giganto, the Atlantean Wildebeest, in this category as well. I do think this would probably be one of the few fights that takes place in water, but in all honesty, yeah, not seeing it work out too well for Giganto here, considering the sheer fact that he struggled with, again, the Fantastic Four here, like Mr. Fantastic, The Thing, Human Torch, and stuff like that. Again, impressive feats, nevertheless. However, however, I think it's very, very permanent that we understand that Godzilla not only has fought other monsters, but he's fought stronger monsters that were amped up by the Life Stone. Confirmed to be some of the strongest beings in the cosmos, this would put them above Hulk, Thor, even Hercules to a degree here. And yet Godzilla is not only able to match these monsters, but is straight up overpowering them with absolute ease. So I think it's pretty simple, and this is the first round, mind you. Godzilla should take this low to no difficulty. Like, there's really not much these monsters have here, even in a size equalized situation. But moving on, we have the Blood Coven. So the Blood Coven themselves here are some of the newest monsters in the Marvel multiverse. Appearing in Blood Hunt, they are actually Blade's Avengers contingency team. Yeah, read Blood Hunt for yourself, and spoilers ahead, obviously. So these vampires were not only able to go toe to toe with the current Avengers, but actually beat them the first round. Now, again, it seems that they are relative to the Avengers, and they were able to organize themselves in time for this to happen. So, with that being said here, they're actually some pretty solid units. Being able to beat Captain Marvel, Thor. This is current Thor, by the way. By the way, current Thor, I think, might not have the Phoenix Force anymore, but he still has the Odin Force. I don't know why he wouldn't have it, but again, apparently it's been rumored he doesn't have it anymore because he used it all up, which I don't understand how, but it is what it is here. But each of these vampires of Damascus, Unusual, Smoke Eater, Blood One, and Gruul here have all been able to take out members of the Avengers and beat them badly here. Like, straight up, just annihilate. Now, this is important because these vampires are enhanced by feeding on magic, psychic energy, metahuman blood, superhuman blood, and even ghosts. Yeah, I want to let y'all process that for a minute here. They're able to feed on ghosts, which even I think is insane. Like, how does a vampire feed on a ghost? How do y'all do that? Like, again, these guys are pretty powerful in their own right here. And again, I would say they're on par with the Avengers because, again, when the Avengers got their turn to get an upper hand on them, yeah, they did pretty well. They actually got them back here, and they were actually beating around the Blood Coven here. But this is because they didn't allow them to really organize themselves here. And in all honesty, it's a pretty smart decision. Because, again, with the Blood Coven here, they're a very strong and a very dangerous team in general. Not only are they vampires, but they're superpowered vampires, meaning you cannot take that lightly. However, they are still having some of the similar weaknesses to regular vampires, such as light itself, which is why the planet itself is just blacked out in darkness. And again, they're ridiculously powerful overall here. But here's the thing, right? I don't see them being able to beat Godzilla here. Now you might say, whoa, you said they were fighting against current Thor Legendary, and you don't even think that Marvel Godzilla would scale to the current versions themselves. Yes, I understand that. And I understand what current Thor has done. He's been able to drain every last bit of the power cosmic out of Galactus and kill him and the Black Winter. He's been able to tear holes through basically open dimensional portals, right? And just straight up put gods that are supposed to be beyond his gods through those portals and even harm them. Keep in mind again, Utgard is sorry, I'm coughing so much here. My throat's a little dry. Utgard is massively above the likes of Asgard. And this Thor as well has been able to dent the destroyer and use the destroyer armor as a punching bag. Excuse me for a minute. Mm-hmm. Had to get some of that water in me. Now, with that being said here, it is pretty prevalent that we do establish that Godzilla has fought the Avengers. And if these guys were getting overpowered by Vision, Captain Marvel, who I hate with a passion, by the way, yeah, I don't see these Avengers or these vampires, excuse me, being able to actually take out Godzilla. Do I think if they had the chance to prepare themselves, do I think they could do it? Yes, I do. However, Godzilla's not something you can really prepare for. Like, even the sheer fact that the Avengers themselves couldn't beat Godzilla, even with the addition power of the Fantastic Four, should say a lot here. Next up, Fin Fang Foom. This is what's the best way I could put it? This used to be a heavily debated battle between Godzilla and Fin Fang Foom. However, the problem with Fin Fang Foom is that he's not consistent. Ooh, excuse me. He's not consistent on Godzilla's level. It's very what's the word I'm looking for? It's very prevalent, I should say here, that Fin Fang Foom is getting thrashed by Hulk. He's getting consistently beat by the Fantastic Four. And he's consistently getting beaten by other characters, like, that aren't even on the regular Hulk and Thor's levels here. And the thing is, we're going to just use one character, Sue Storm, right? And the sheer fact that she was able to still hold off against Fin Fang Foom. But when it came to Godzilla, the Fantastic Four were struggling badly, to the point where when Sue Storm actually tries to contain Godzilla, she got her force fields busted like a balloon. Like, Godzilla legit just not only flexed out of Mr. Fantastic's grip, but flexed out of Sue Storm's force field as well, and caused her to collapse. Again, this is classic days Sue Storm. And again, Marvel Kid got away with whatever they want back then, because again, those classic days were some of the crazier times. Sue Storm, even in like current comics, is busting celestial armor. Like, even in updated versions of this feat here, whether it's a dead celestial or an alive celestial, she's busting through that armor consistently. All right? Again, she's doing this with her own power. No amps, no augmentation. No, this is Sue Storm when she decides that enough is enough, and she's going to basically attack a celestial. And she's consistently able to do this. And yet Godzilla's able to break those force fields, and Fin Fang Foom isn't. Next up, we have Man-Thing. Now, this is actually pretty interesting, and I could see this match being a stalemate for multiple reasons, in fact. For starters, Man-Thing's gelatinous nature. Now, you might say, well, hasn't Godzilla dealt with Ghidorah? Yeah, you're right, considering the fact that Showa Godzilla is basically Marvel Godzilla, so yeah, this does mean he knows a way around gelatinous beings and stuff like that there. However, Man-Thing is a bit different than Ghidorah. If I had to say who would win against each other, I'd probably give it to Man-Thing. Maybe. It's actually pretty funny because it's pollution versus nature. But overall, Man-Thing's best win con might not even work on Godzilla. You see, there are benefits to a character with so fewer showings. Alright? Man-Thing has decades of feats. But Godzilla also has decades of feats that could counter Man-Thing's. Because again, we don't know if Man-Thing's fear burn would actually work on Godzilla, or if his fear inducement would work on Godzilla. All right. You see, the problem is here, we don't know what Godzilla fears. And again, I think that's probably one of the more terrifying things here. Now, again, in the Showa era, it is stated that Godzilla was afraid of Ghidorah. Now, that is very probable that Man-Thing could probably induce that fear into Godzilla and then use a fear burn on him. But again, even if Godzilla's scared of him, he's still going to fight him. And even then, at the end of the series, he was able to fight him alongside Zone Fighter and more than likely conquered his fear. So I would have to say round two, he gets to a mid difficulty with the only stalemate should be Man-Thing. I could possibly argue Man-Thing beating Godzilla, but again, it's very iffy in my opinion. Next up, we have Satana, the Princess of the Underworld. Now, Satana is a very interesting opponent for Godzilla here. Being able to induce every spell upon pretty much Godzilla, like there's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. She can use every spell imaginable. All right, she's mainly proficient in monster magic, which I wouldn't say is too different, but again, it's what Marvel calls it, monster magic, if you will. Here, she's even being able to reverse magical attacks back into her opponent, being able to BFR opponents through time itself, even being BFRing opponents to the underworld here. And being able to turn intangible, invisible, cast mind control spells and stuff like that there. And in all honesty, this may not be enough. Now again, Godzilla has not fought magical opponents in, well, his continuity, I should say. Considering the sheer fact that Satana is a magical being here, I could possibly make the argument Godzilla could stop at her. Again, just thinking about it here. But the thing is, Satana also isn't a physical fighter. Like if Godzilla gets his hands on her, gets a power breath, or even using his roar, could cause some serious damage to her. And again, we would also have to go to the Thor argument and the Hercules argument, since they are both magical beings themselves here, by nature, in all honesty. Same with Satana. And if Hercules, with all of his might, was stressing against Godzilla, and Thor, with all his magical powers and abilities, could not actually conceded, that he couldn't stop Godzilla, I don't think there's a real logical reason for Satana to honestly win here, unless you argue here BFRing him to the underworld. But even then, Godzilla's going to rampage down there and find some way to get out. Next up is Ghost Rider. And believe it or not, again, kind of with the Satana situation, except he is stronger than Satana and has been able to overpower with ease, overpower Thor, okay? And even overpower Man-Thing. Albeit Man-Thing did do the most damage to him, because not only did he fear burn him, but he was able to zap most of Zarathos' power away from him. Now, this is pretty interesting in my opinion. I do think Godzilla's Hellfire could work on Marvel's Godzilla here. But do I think that a Pendant Stare could work on Godzilla? I'm gonna have to say no on that, because again, Godzilla in some ways is still an animal, and do we give animals like moral compasses on what they do? Like I'm just saying, do we really give them moral compasses on what they do here? Again, Godzilla operates like an animal. I mean, not to say that's a bad thing, but again, it kind of makes you wonder if the Pendant Stare would actually work here. Plus, again, the Pendant Stare has backfired on characters who could easily either avoid them, dodge them, or have a different nature entirely to the spirit of vengeance. So you can make those arguments that this wouldn't work on Godzilla. But now we've reached the final round, where I definitely see Godzilla struggling with this one a bit. And there are some arguments you can make here for this. Mangog is a threat to Odin. Odin is stronger than Thor. Again, at least Thor during that time period. and Mangog was able to beat him. Now, here's the thing about that, right? Mangog has lost to Thor and has lost to Jane Foster Thor. Now, there's also the sheer fact that neither Odin or Thor were at their peaks during that one. As a matter of fact, they were a lot weaker. Thor wasn't worthy. You know, he was going through a lot of mental issues during that time here. And in all honesty, he lost a limb. Like that's not a good thing here. And Odin was much weaker here. Like even Mangog himself blatantly states, "You're not the All-Father and God of Thunder that you used to be." And even then, when Thor is at his peak and at his best, he actually beats Mangog consistently, beating him with the anti-force, beating him with physical blows, literally just going all out on him. Because again, he knows Mangog could take it. And the thing is here, if he's using all of his strength against Godzilla, and Godzilla was still overpowering him, again, it's pretty simple here. If Godzilla is overpowering Thor, while Mangog, yes, Mangog does consistently overpower Thor, that is his doomsday, but if Thor starts going all out, it starts to end up in different results almost like 50% of the time. Meanwhile, Thor was trying against Godzilla his first time and still couldn't do anything against him. And again, if Thor is saying nothing he could do could possibly defeat this monster, this would more than likely include the anti-force even down Godzilla's throat, which probably wouldn't happen anyway, but again, still. And with that being said here, this means that Godzilla not only clears this gauntlet, but would beat a large majority of Marvel's monsters. Now again, there are a few I could argue where they could beat him. Man-Thing, Satana, and Mangog are the best arguments I could really give for Godzilla losing. However, with his showing against the Avengers, even the classic days Avengers, and with some of the characters having not been at their peak during certain moments in these fights with these monsters, or these characters not having the, I guess you could say, durability to really last against Godzilla, yeah, I could definitely argue Godzilla clearing. But that's going to be all for today, you guys. Please comment down below, like and subscribe and share with your friends. And I'm sorry for all the tongue twisters and coughing during this one. I was trying to get this video done because I haven't uploaded in 2 days. So I was trying to get this video done, and how long it is just, yeah. But anyway, y'all have a blessed day, and I'll see you guys later. Peace.